Welcome to the studio. Hello, hello. Um, Today I'm gonna finish putting the first foundation piece and shoring up some of the painting, get a little more depth in it, different things like that. But I wanted to start with getting a new palette together. So one of the first things I want to do though is clear this area off here and use some white paint to pull some of the colors that are under here first. Let me go back here. So I'm going to make sure that this is set up right, that you guys can see things. Yep, you can. It looks like it's running, so good. I'm going to put a little bit of cadmium red light in here too, just to kind of warm that up a little bit. Put a little bit of yellow down as well. You'll see what I'm going to do here. It's kind of a really neat little trick that I like. So I take some of Michael Harding's Titanium 2, Series 102, and just kind of spread it around to pick up some of the pigment that's left behind so that I can get this really warm color that I'll use on the light side of, or not on the light side, probably on the shadow side, really. Depends on how warm it really ends up being. On the shadow side of the little church where the white is supposed to be. So I got hold my little palette paper down. Let's see, it's starting to pick up some of the pavements, and it's kind of, it's somewhat gray. It's not real in your face. I discovered this because Michael's paints have so much pigment in it. You end up with a little bit of residue on your palette paper, and you can actually use them, as a gray, a light gray, grayish color. Because see, if I put this, you'll see it more on the painting, but if I put it by certain colors, it starts to change, how it picks up color around it. So just a kind of cute little, it's cleaning your palette too. I mean, I'm sure this isn't anything new to folks that plein air paint and all that good stuff. Take a little bit of this brown down here. So there's another nice little color that comes out. Take a little blue. Throw that in there. Okay, so again with the yacht light, you may not see this, but you'll see it when I change the light around. So that might work really well on this side and in the shadow area. So before I start to paint, I want to get a new palette set up, because I'm going to be working with lighter colors at this point, lighter in value, warmer. And I just kind of continue to do this. Nice. There we go. I want that in there too. Okay, so that's good. So now I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to transfer my colors that I haven't used, and they're still usable, to a new disposable palette that's underneath this. Got any questions about what this is? It's so it's the BIENFAND or G, excuse me, disposable palette, multi-palette paper. So, and it sits right into, it's a 12 by 16, 50 sheets. Okay, fits right into those palette savers I talked about on the color mixing video. Before I love that gold. I'm gonna pull a little bit of this in with it. So nice. Color that I can play with on the next palette. So anyway, I can stand and mix colors all day. I love mixing colors. But I also have to paint. I have to get this done. So now there's a couple different things that you can do with the colors that are on here. You can just kind of set it aside and grab from it as you need it. Why is this being so difficult? Or you can start completely from scratch and mix things up. There we go. And I got glue all over my fingers. So again, we talked about having the colors all in a row that you're used to going and grabbing. I didn't really have that set up like I usually do. I usually go with my white at the top here, then my ultramarine blue, my alizarin crimson. Now I opened these Michael Harding paints, well this one anyway, a few days ago, and it's still very malleable and very wet and can be used very well. So I have my 3 primaries. And I'm going to start with my cadmium light. It's usually not on my palette. Could grab some of these greens that I've already mixed up off of here, if they're still usable. There's some of that, just for a color reference. I want to steal this guy. And this guy. That one. All those whites that I just mixed up. Those light colors, gray colors. And I'm just going to kind of put them all down in one area on my palette so that I have them. They're my kind of a go-to color that I can start to make darker or lighter or redder or green or whatever. So I'm going to grab my blue from my blue sky and put that up there. And grab this red, put that up there. So it's you know, somewhat organized here. Still probably not as much as some folks like. So grab some of the darker browns that are still usable. For this, oops, where'd it go? Right in the brown. Oh well, I'll just stick them up there too. And this lighter rust color there, mud. I'll throw the black that I have left, gold up there as well. And that's probably all I'm going to save from that. So, not really worried about keeping this guy, but I'll set him up here for right now just as a reference and out of the way. Let me wipe my hands off and I'll get you set up so that you can see what's going on Unless, let me think about this a second. I'm going to grab the cobalt teal out of here. There we go. I'm going to stick a little bit of cobalt blue on here. And I might even stick the Knight's blue on here too. Just for the fun of it. So I'm going to put the Knight's blue by the ultramarine, well, it's a little close, but by the ultramarine there. So you should see, how transparent this ultramarine is as compared to the Knight's blue. Okay. So, just trying to figure out what I want to do color-wise, where I want to start. All right, let me switch the, I'm going to switch the camera over to another. Get it set up so that you can see what's going on. Interesting. All right, looks like I'm going to have to go this way with it so that you can see. All right, come on. It's being difficult. There we go. Okay, turn it that way. Should look like the familiar. Should look pretty familiar to you. That's the Black River Church. Okay. Interesting that it didn't flip around. So you may be looking sideways at me. I apologize for that. I wonder if I can get it to flip? Will it flip? No, that's not what I wanted. Close that out. And camera. Took a picture. That's not what I wanted either. All right. What happened? Oh, it flipped it around. Hi, guys. How are you? Flip it back around the other way. So that way. And that way. Well. Let's see if I can. All right, let's go with that. That way you can see when I'm mixing and also on the thing. So what I'm playing with in my mind is I want to try to bring this out a little bit more and have the pillars sticking out a little bit more, have a little more to the roof angle that's here. So all of it has to do basically with straight lines. So I found this trick from Joe McGurl once. Using a really wide petty knife, you can make your straight lines. And I want to shore some of this stuff up. So I'm going to take a brush. It really doesn't matter what size or what kind, but this rosemary brush rosemary brush upside down. 3/8 rosemary. I can't do this. Angular. So see how it's angled there. So I'm going to use both of these to kind of shore up my lines. I'm going to use a dark color so I can see them on here. The steps are important. You just put your putty knife up there and draw a straight line. One thing I didn't get out is my turpentine, which is over here. So my odorless turp. Clean my brushes. I stick that right by the cleaner, right by the air. I don't have a lot of, I have fans on up here. I don't have a lot of circulation. When I don't use it, I cover it back over. A wetter paint will stick to a wet paint better. There we are. So I made it a little bit wetter by adding some, getting my brush wet basically. Perfect. Okay. That's the line, that's the wall of the church. Get any paint on it, you just wipe it off. So again, putty knife. Got this from Joe McGurl. I didn't say that earlier. I meant to. Okay. And one more. Okay. All this is wet under here, so I'm hoping that I can just kind of erase some of this, but it doesn't look like it's going to do that. So just have to make a mental note of what I really want to do here. Paper towels, putty knives, all different kind of tools, whatever they are. Don't be ashamed of them. Don't be afraid to use them. One of the art chats that I had with Joe talked about when I took a workshop from him at Art of the Carolinas, all the different things that he used, and then he was talking about how it was Thanksgiving Day, and there were the turkey was in the oven, and he ended up taking the turkey baster downstairs to see what he could do with it down there. Thought that was pretty funny, but of course his wife was wondering where the turkey baster went. But so it's kind of fun. So I want my step lines to basically follow this same line here. So I'm just going to outline them so that I have it. just for reference. Okay. Just kind of shoring things up at this point. I want these two angles to be the same. Okay. That was Harry, if you guys heard the meow. Now, this line should be the same angle. It's a good thing about that paint still being wet. Okay. And the angle on the windows and the shutters should follow that same line as well. I wanted to kind of pick up a little bit of the reflection above it, as well as some off of the brown. I don't want to go really dark, because then I have to worry about blending that. So I just mixed up kind of a grayish, purplish, reddish color to it. You know, I'm not going to worry about each individual pane of glass. See how much my hand-free drawing was off there. Always step back and look, which is hard when you have readers on for a close look. See, it's kind of bring your readers down on your nose a little bit. So I'm going to bring the back part of this house down some, the roof down some, not the house, the church. Okay. painting in the shutters and the side of the windows. It's kind of amazing that this little trick that Joe showed me, how well it works. Okay. Let's get some of that color again. And what I want to do is follow this. It's kind of a reference line in the windows. I will probably end up painting over that and coming back and putting them in, but it just kind of gives my mind a reference to keep in line with that slant. Oops, you tell me you don't follow your palette. Very nice. All right, that's good. Now, almost put my brush in my water. Get a drink. Oh, I'm thinking of it. So I'm looking at my reference over here. Quite right, does it? Nope, not. No. Take that off. Make sure that you're still recording. Hi, everybody. So basically, I'm just trying to take this line off here. Sorry if I'm mumbling. Kind of getting deep in thought and into the zone. I want to match that line up with the line that's below it. You can see how much, I did this just by hand and a brush to sketch it out. I didn't have anything to really show the lines and how I wanted them at the time. So you just basically come back and redraw it. That's the good thing about oil paint. You can always redraw it. Still don't like. Put the brush on my paint before I line things up. Okay, so the front of the steps here, then there's like a landing area, and then there's a step up to a door where these pillars are. I need to get those pillars right. So that's I'm trying to do at this point, is get them right. That's the shadow side. Just make that a little wider. Okay. And another side here. So there's 4 pillars that are on that porch side. And that's what I'm playing with right now. Again, they won't be this black, but I gotta add some reference lines so that when I paint them in, I'll know what to follow. It's always easier to go lighter in color in oil colors, oil painting. So just putting a light color in here right now so that I know what's supposed to fall back and what's supposed to be coming forward. We'll worry about the details later. I just want a solid color in there for right now. So thanks for joining in, guys. Appreciate that. Had somebody one time ask me if this was cheating. What? I don't know, define cheating. Let's see. A little bit more around here. So let's pull him. Let's put him right there. Yep. Side. So let's come. You guys can see it on my shoulder. this is a rather old church. So it's not necessarily square everywhere. So as I come back and paint it, while I'll have the basic dimensions or the basics in, a lot of lost and found edges instead of really hard edges are going to be a lot more interesting. So and I'm also kind of drawing in some of the quirkiness of the church itself. So okay. So that takes care of that part. All right, we get a different brush. Okay. This is a rosemary brush, flat. Let's see, Rosemary Company Eclipse comber. Actually, this is a comber. I don't know if I want to. I don't want to use a comber. I grabbed the wrong one out of here. Sorry. Let's save this guy. Stubby flat from Rosemary. Brand new brush. So I'm just going to kind of fill in some of the color that I want here. And this part is in shadow. It's white in shadow. There's a window that'll drop in there. But right now I'm just going to put some shadow color in. I'll come back and detail things with my palette knife. Not the big putty knife, that's a different thing altogether. A palette knife, you can still get nice straight lines with a palette knife, especially with all the different types of palette knives that are out there. It does make some stuff easier to do, but I'm not going to get too loose with this painting, but certainly have some color that I can put in here that make it really, really nice. So as you can see, what I wanted to really do here too is to show that you can see through the church, because this is the wall of the church in the background, if you will, from that overhang. And so that's why I was putting in those colors in here, so it feels like you are looking through that area and beyond. since those poles are getting a little bit, those columns, those English, colonial, whatever columns, I'm going to make them kind of warm. Let it grab some of the light around it. So I'm over here mixing up a color that I want to put on that area. So I'm grabbing some white. I grabbed a touch of the cadmium red light. I grabbed some cadmium yellow. Just a touch of blue. I want it to be higher in value, lighter in value. Just kind of mixing some stuff up here. I got daylight streaming in from my window over there, so I can mix some of the colors over on my right with daylight. Yeah, I like that. Off the palette knife. Off my brush. So anyway, I'm mixing basically, this is a daylight lamp, a hot lamp. And then I have daylight streaming in from my window. Controlled though, I do have a shade down on it. So it's not full. If I had full sun in here, I'd be sweating like crazy, but because I'm up over the garage. So I just want to touch these guys up. The right side of those pillars. And that'll take another coat too. I'll come back with my palette knife. There we go. It's got all kind of color bouncing around here. And some greens from the trees, red from the roof. So when you're looking at it, you might be sitting there saying, "Oh, it should be, just plain white." White isn't just plain white. And if you wanted to, you can put the palette knife or the putty knife trick just to follow down on the lines. Make sure that when you're painting, you clean your brush. When you go back into the paint, sometimes I just use a dry cloth and clean it. Sometimes I put it in the turpentine to really get it cleaned off. And there you can start to see some of the difference between the shadow area. Very close in value. I'm okay with that black that I put in there, kind of mixing in. You might get a feel for, maybe this is, look, it's got wood-like siding on it. So, the dark slats could take that feeling on. So again, as I start to build this with palette knife and brush, we'll find a lost and found edge here and there. To help it out, and then to really give your eyes something to move forward to. Right now, I just want to get the drawing, the painting, just in and pleasurable for the eye to look at. mixing some more paint in. I want this a little bit warmer and a little bit lighter than what I originally mixed up. So I put a little cadmium yellow in it, and when I go to put that on, it'll seem brighter. But as I pick up some of that black, it'll turn it into more of a green than a yellow, which is what I'm looking for. You have to know the area of where the church is, but there's this big old oak tree kind of that sits over here and has Spanish moss hanging off of the branches. And my niece wants that Spanish moss hanging down in front of this, so I'll have a branch coming in at some point with the Spanish moss hanging off of it and pushing this further back. So the green that I want to pick up in here is actually the green from that tree. And I know some folks are sitting there saying, wait, black and yellow makes green? Yeah, it does. Especially if you're using this ivory black that Michael makes. So we just kind of keep on. I apologize the other day when I put this foundation on. Found out later that it's actually kind of funny. The Warner Group decided that they could identify some of the tunes that were playing in the background, so they grabbed the video and wouldn't let it be shown. So sorry that you guys all missed on that. I just think it's absolutely funny that they do that, because a friend of mine, one time I was listening to Music Choice on Spectrum's channel, and I thought, wow, that guitar playing sounds like my friend who recorded with Manhattan Transfer. They were he was part of the support band for them. So I wrote him a quick text and told him that it was playing and what was playing, and he texted back what time, told him the time. So he went to check to see if he got royalties. And I think bottom line was that I think he figured out that he didn't get royalties from him or something. So, I mean, for them to sit there and crack down the way they do and then to screw the musician is a little bit much. All right, almost put the brush in the water again. Step back here a second. Hey, Angela. And I'd probably end up getting the mic into the stuff. I could probably talk louder. I've just been talking more quietly. Let's see, there we go. That's probably better. Let me just try to zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So anyway, I'm just going to continue to do this and play around. That's better. Okay. Let's put this guy in there. this. Just making sure that the columns look pretty good, and thinking just basic shapes at this point, just where the sun's coming from, where does something need to be lighter or darker as we go through this whole thing. Just putting in a basic color. I'll come back and have fun with detail later. This guy's a little wide, so I'm going to knock him down a little bit. Okay. Okay. Wide. You'll see when I start painting with the palette knife how much easier it is for some of this straight line stuff to occur than with a brush. Especially if you don't have those steady hands. So here we go. Pillars. So a little bit of color here. There's a door that lives back here on this wall behind these pillars. And I'm not going to worry about putting that in there right now. I'll come back and put it in. I'm at this point just trying to get a feel for how does it look to my eye when I step back. I think Angela was referring to Bob Ross, saying you can mic me up so you can hear me, Bob. I don't know if you guys really want to hear me talk or not. Kind of new to all this going live stuff on Facebook. It's kind of interesting, but to remind you of Bob Ross. Here, before I lose this line, all right, step back here. Shadow back in there. And just kind of put a lighter area where the light's hitting the steps. And again, when I have my palette knife, I'll clean up this area a little bit more, but right now I'm just trying to get some color in so that I can see it and enjoy it and fix it and live in it, so to speak. I don't know why I always feel like I have to be so much more careful with brushes, but I do. Not quite as careful with palette knives. painting's still wet, so I can kind of come back in here and finish in a lighter area, darker area, etc. And mush is my technical term. So I think there's very many other people that say mush. Mush it together. That's what I used to say to Larry Dowd all the time. Do I need to mush this together? Came up with a whole new term. And it provides a little handrail. Just a reminder that I need to put that in because I don't think it has a handrail. I'll have to look. Angela said he talked very softly too. Thanks, Angela. So, maybe I should go get one of those wigs, right? And put it on my head, put a mustache and beard. All right, so I'm just going to leave that there and look at some other photo reference because I can't really remember if. Okay, never mind. I'm going to take these out now. It's why you have photo reference. Actually, there's a railing in the center, but not on the end. So, play with this a little bit. Bring that back in. Push it back. It's too red. That's all right. Love these paper towels, Viva. They work real well and taking and mushing and all of that good technical stuff. Make that disappear. Clean that up later with a palette knife, not a big deal. All right. Thinking to myself that maybe I really don't want to put these in. Call too much attention to it. So, and I really don't remember them being there when I first started going to the church. It was back in the 80s. So it might have been something as the congregation got older, they put the railings on. They now have a ramp that you can walk up that my niece said she definitely does not want in the picture. Don't blame her. All right. Take my glasses off so I can see it. So, yeah. Doing well. Let's clean this guy up a little bit. back and all right, I'm going to mix the color up for this side. A few colors up, actually. Need to get some more. Put such a white out, need to throw this away. Let's get all kind of colors on it. Some of Michael's white out. So the color I want to mix up, it's kind of two colors. Keep the light consistent coming from this side. So this would cast a little bit of a shadow in here, and this side would be lighter. This is definitely in shadow. This is in shadow because there's an overhang that I haven't painted in yet. But that area is also in shadow. But when it's in shadow, because it's white, the value is darker, but it's not as dark as some of the other shadow areas that are in the painting. Oh, that's what I did. Get my brush. So this very edge is catching that little lip of white. I want to set that down, so I'm just kind of brushing a little dark underneath. Now you start to get that right in this area, you start to get that depth feel. That'll play up even more when I get to my palette knives, which will be a different day, because you probably are all getting tired of looking at me. Don't blame you. I like that color in there. That looked really good. Make it a little bit thicker. So really when you're talking about depth in a painting, you're basically just talking about contrast and value, light and dark, temperature. it's starting to look good. Should be a trick later with the I'm going to do here. Get that red off my brush. Actually, I feel like that was going at the same angle that it needed to be. Reds take forever to dry. So that's why you can always go back and start playing with them a little bit more. Just trying to get a little darker area underneath these eaves. Using a little ultramarine blue and mixing it with the red that's white there, or wet there. Just keep playing with them. I'll use that. Just use this. This is the painting part of painting. Painting part of painting. All right. Back. All right, so I'm going to throw some of this shadow color over here on the side for now. Actually need to be just a tad darker in volume or in value. Let's see. The front, reason why I didn't want it any darker in value than when I have it is because it's receiving reflected light off of a number of areas. So not really concerned about how dark that front. I just want it to feel like it's in shadow, which it does. And this side, though, is even darker in shadow and not quite as warm. Take it right up to the shadow line, or the shutter line, and the roof line. Remember that the side of the church is white, so I'm not sure I'm going to go any darker in value than where I am. I can even throw a touch of this up here, where the eave is, so it feels a little shadow, a little warm shadow up there too. Not going to worry about these bushes. I'm going to come back and put them back in. So, but I do want to make sure that that color gets there where I want it. These are just foundation colors again. Keep building more and more up on this. So if my color isn't exactly what I want it to be, or it doesn't feel right, or maybe I want it to be a little bit warmer, I can always come back and put some of that in there. So there's, like I'm not going to panic if this isn't the exact color I want it to be, or if it isn't the exact color that my niece wants it to be. Okay. Just getting pulling together there. So now these shutters that are on the house are really dark hunter green. So I need to mix that color up. A little ultramarine blue, add yellow. More touch of this, touch of that. Right down just a tad. Right down, I'm going to use alizarin crimson, a complement. So, because I don't want to come up in value, I want the green to be a little darker, and I want it to be a little grayer. I don't want a lot of chroma. Don't want a lot of chroma in it. So that's why I added the alizarin crimson. That looks about right. So let's clean the palette knife off. Take my brush. Those green shadows or shutters are memorable. I mean, you really, really remember that for that part of the church. At least I do. Bring the shutters all the way into the glass, so that's the way they are. Don't worry, we'll fix that. For Angela, if she's still watching, it's a happy accident. We have our little, there we go. Always fixable. That's why I love oil paints, they're so forgiving. There we go. Another shutter. And it's okay if this like green gets in here because that light is bouncing around. Reflected light is bouncing around in there too. So if the little green gets into that, you don't have to worry about it. Just getting in this last shutter. There's some of that color there in the gray, the green and the gray kind of match a little bit. Don't particularly want a really hard edge there. every time you have a hard edge somewhere, it stops your eye. So I'm not particularly sure I want them stopping at this point, so I'm just kind of messing around with it. Softening the edge a little. Okay. Over here, then I want to knock that down. So now those windows look like there's light coming through it. We really don't want that to be that way. So there are benches inside that are kind of brown. There's a really wonderful now hardwood floor. There used to be a red carpet that used to be in there. So I'm kind of mixing up a little bit of a grayish color. And throw in some of the green from the shutters in there as well. It is glass, so I don't want it to be too dark in value. But I also don't want it to be too light. Give this a try. So there's just a little bit of difference between that gray color and this window color that I'm just blocking in at this point. So basically at this point, the painting is all blocked in. What I usually do at this point is kind of just step back and look at it from all different angles over the next couple days, see what I like about it, see what I don't like about it, make some changes and stuff. But at this point, I'm also ready to start playing around with my palette knife and start building it more. There's a number of areas that I really like. There's some areas that I'll probably refine. Again, like I said, there's going to be this branch that comes down that the Spanish moss is going to be hanging over. I could probably put in the windows in the front with that color that I'm using here and that hunter green shed or shutter. Just looking back at the picture a little bit, the shutters kind of go down past the window a little. Just kind of as a reminder. So, get my glasses back on. Well, I paint in my hair now. Okay, so that pole blocks that. And a little higher. So this I'm putting in just basically so I know where they'll be. Color isn't exactly right, but when I get my palette knives, I can fix that. Okay. And the door. This will be a shutter. The window goes. It's kind of blocked by that pillar. So I'm kind of simplifying, moving some things around so that it's not very crowded, distracting. But for the most part, we're going to say the door's open. Door is right there. All right, so that gives me some boundary in there as well. One other quick touch, and then I think I'm going to call it a day and step back and look at it is, since I have light hitting here, I want to make this edge warmer. And catching light. So I just take cadmium light on the edge of my brush and tap it on there. And then I'll, every once so often, pull some of it back. Very soft edged. not so soft edged. And mainly because I want you to kind of stop and see that shadow area there. And just kind of hang around in that. Shadow area. All right. So there's the edge of the roof. It could be catching a lot of light here and there. Kind of like one of those lost and found edges I was talking about. All right. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in and watching me paint. I'm going to call it a day for today and kind of step back and look at this, like I said, see what I want to change, what I don't want to change. But it's turning out nice. I hope Allie likes it if she tunes in. Hope she's liking where it's going. It's way not finished yet, but need to work on the church some more with my palette knives and bring some stuff out, and along with the and I want the trees in the back to just fall off kind of like they're doing. So at this point, it's going to be more advantageous for me to go into my palette knives and start having fun with it. But basically, we shored up the drawing. It looks a lot better. It's making a lot more sense to me. Hope it does to you guys, and I'll catch you next time. I'll post when I'm going to be live. It probably will not be tomorrow. Probably be next week sometime. So this weekend it's going to be in the 70s, and I hope to be hiking. So I'll see you guys later. Have fun. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.